I'm selling this house and moving to Florida with my new wife. You have until the end of the month to get out. Garrett's words hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me breathless and reeling. I stared at him, my husband of 10 years, as he stood in the doorway of my grandmother Nora's house, the house she had left to me just weeks ago after her passing. What do you mean, you're selling the house? I managed to choke out, my voice trembling with a mix of grief and anger. This is my house, Garrett. Nora left it to me. He scoffed, his eyes cold and dismissive. It's our house, Evelyn, and in case you've forgotten, we have debts to pay off, debts that you racked up with your frivolous spending. I felt my cheeks flush with indignation. My frivolous spending? You're the one who insisted on buying that ridiculous sports car last year. And what about your business trips to Vegas? Don't think I haven't noticed the charges on our credit card statements. Garrett's jaw clenched, and he took a step towards me, his tall frame looming over mine. Watch your tone, Evelyn. I've made the decision, and it's final. We're selling this house, and that's that. Tears stung my eyes as I looked around the living room, taking in the familiar floral wallpaper and the cozy fireplace where Nora and I had spent countless evenings reading together. This house was more than just 4 walls and a roof. It was a piece of my heart, a connection to the woman who had raised me after my parents died. I can't believe you're doing this, I whispered, my voice cracking. Nora's barely been gone a month, and you're already trying to erase her memory. Garrett rolled his eyes. Don't be so dramatic, Evelyn. It's just a house, and besides, Tiffany and I need a fresh start, a new beginning. The mention of his mistress's name sent a jolt of pain through my chest. I had suspected for months that Garrett was cheating on me, but hearing him say it out loud made it all too real. Tiffany, I repeated, the name bitter on my tongue. So, that's what this is really about. You're leaving me for your secretary. A smirk tugged at the corner of Garrett's mouth. Tiffany's not just my secretary, Evelyn. She's my fiancée. We're getting married next month, and we're moving to Florida together. I felt like I had been slapped. My husband, the man I had built a life with, was not only leaving me, but also marrying another woman, and he had the audacity to do it in my grandmother's house, the one place that had always been a sanctuary for me. Get out, I said, my voice low and trembling with rage. Get out of my house, Garrett, and don't come back. He chuckled, shaking his head as he turned to leave. You have until the end of the month, Evelyn. I expect you to be gone by then. As the door slammed behind him, I sank to the floor, my body shaking with sobs. How had my life unraveled so quickly? Just a few short weeks ago, I had been mourning the loss of my beloved grandmother, and now I was facing the betrayal of my husband and the prospect of losing my home. But as I sat there, surrounded by Nora's belongings and memories, a flicker of determination ignited within me. Garrett thought he could just walk away and leave me with nothing, but he had underestimated me. I was Nora's granddaughter, and I had inherited more than just her house. I had inherited her strength, her resilience, and her unwavering spirit. I wiped my tears and pushed myself to my feet, my grief momentarily overshadowed by a newfound sense of purpose. If Garrett wanted a fight, then that's exactly what he was going to get. I wasn't going to let him take everything from me without a battle. It was time to show him just what I was made of. In the days following Garrett's bombshell announcement, I threw myself into my work as a graphic designer, desperately trying to distract myself from the pain of his betrayal. But even as I sat at my desk, staring at the computer screen, my mind kept drifting back to the mounting debts and the looming deadline to vacate Nora's house. I had always trusted Garrett to handle our finances, believing that he had our best interests at heart. But now, as I pored over our bank statements and credit card bills, a sickening realization began to dawn on me. Garrett had been hiding assets, siphoning money into secret accounts that I had no knowledge of. My hands shook as I held the damning evidence in front of me, a mix of anger and disbelief coursing through my veins. How could he have lied to me for so long? And why was he so desperate to sell Nora's house, when it was clear that we had more than enough money to pay off our debts? A knock at the door startled me out of my thoughts. I quickly shuffled the papers back into a drawer and went to answer it, my heart pounding in my chest. To my surprise, it was Brandon, my coworker and closest friend. He took one look at my tear-stained face and enveloped me in a tight hug. "I heard about Garrett," he said softly, his voice filled with concern. "I'm so sorry, Evelyn. You don't deserve this." I clung to him, my body shaking with sobs. "He's been lying to me, Brandon, about everything. The money, the affair. I don't even know who he is anymore." Brandon gently guided me to the couch, his arm wrapped around my shoulders. "You're strong, Evelyn. You'll get through this. And I'm here for you no matter what." His words were a small comfort in the midst of my turmoil. As we sat there, talking and sifting through the remnants of my shattered life, I felt a flicker of hope begin to grow within me. I wasn't alone in this fight. Over the next few days, I threw myself into the task of sorting through Nora's belongings, determined to find some clue that would help me make sense of Garrett's betrayal. And then, buried at the bottom of an old trunk, I found it, a letter, yellowed with age and addressed to Nora in an unfamiliar hand. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the delicate paper, my eyes scanning the faded ink. It was from a lawyer, dated nearly 50 years ago, and it hinted at a secret that Nora had taken to her grave. "Dear Mrs. Gallagher," the letter began, "as per your request, I have placed the bearer bonds in a safe deposit box at First National Bank. The key is enclosed with this letter. I trust that this will provide you with the financial security you seek should the need arise." I felt a chill run down my spine as I read the words. Bearer bonds? A safe deposit box? What had Nora been hiding all these years? I knew I needed to find out more, but I also knew that I couldn't do it alone. I needed someone I could trust, someone who would have my back no matter what. I picked up the phone and dialed Brandon's number, my heart racing as I waited for him to answer. "Brandon," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "I need your help. I think I may have found something that could change everything." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then Brandon's voice, steady and reassuring. "I'm on my way, Evelyn. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." As I hung up the phone, I felt a surge of determination wash over me. Garrett thought he could just walk away and leave me with nothing, but he was wrong. I had Nora's strength flowing through my veins, and I had the love and support of a true friend. Together, we would uncover the truth and make Garrett pay for his betrayal. The revelation of Nora's secret had given me a newfound sense of purpose, but it was short-lived. Just a few days later, Garrett showed up at my door, a smug grin on his face, and Tiffany clinging to his arm like a trophy. "Evelyn," he said, his voice dripping with condescension, "I think it's time we had a little chat." I felt my stomach twist with dread as I stepped aside to let them in, my eyes narrowing at the sight of Tiffany's designer handbag and perfectly manicured nails. She looked every inch the gold digger I had suspected her to be. "What do you want, Garrett?" I asked, my voice tight with barely contained anger. He chuckled, settling himself on the couch and pulling Tiffany down beside him. "Always straight to the point, aren't you? Well, I'll cut to the chase. I want you to sign over Nora's house to me, today." I stared at him in disbelief, my mouth falling open. "Are you out of your mind? I'm not signing anything over to you, Garrett. This house is mine." His eyes flashed with a dangerous glint, and he leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "See, that's where you're wrong, Evelyn. According to our divorce agreement, I'm entitled to half of everything, and that includes this house." I shook my head, my heart pounding in my chest. "We haven't even filed for divorce yet, Garrett. And even if we had, there's no way I'm giving you half of Nora's house. She left it to me, not you." Tiffany let out a high-pitched giggle, her hand resting possessively on Garrett's thigh. "Oh, sweetie, you really think you have a choice in the matter?" I felt a surge of rage course through me, and I took a step towards her, my fists clenched at my sides. "Listen, you little homewrecker. I don't know what kind of lies Garrett's been feeding you, but this house is not up for grabs, and neither am I." Garrett stood up, his face twisting with anger. "Watch your mouth, Evelyn. You have no idea who you're dealing with." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, thrusting it towards me. "This is a copy of our prenuptial agreement. If you'll recall, it states that in the event of a divorce, all jointly owned assets will be divided equally between us." I snatched the paper from his hand, my eyes scanning the tiny print. He was right. There it was, in black and white. I felt my stomach sink as the realization hit me. Garrett had planned this from the beginning. He had never loved me. I was just a means to an end, a way for him to get his hands on Nora's house. "You bastard," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "You never cared about me at all, did you? This was all just a game to you." Garrett smirked, his arms snaking around Tiffany's waist. "Don't take it personally, Evelyn. It's just business." I felt something snap inside me, and before I knew what I was doing, I lunged at him, my hands clawing at his face. "I'll never let you have this house, Garrett. I'll fight you with everything I have." He easily pushed me away, his laughter ringing in my ears. "Go ahead and try, Evelyn. But we both know how this is going to end. You're weak. You always have been." With that, he turned and walked out the door, Tiffany trailing behind him like a loyal lapdog. I sank to the floor, my body shaking with sobs. How could I have been so blind? So stupid. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm me, I felt a flicker of determination spark to life in my chest. Garrett thought he had won, but he had no idea what I was capable of. I would find a way to stop him, to keep Nora's house and uncover the truth about her secret fortune. I wiped my tears and pushed myself to my feet, my jaw set with resolve. It was time to fight back. And this time, I wouldn't stop until I had taken everything from Garrett, just as he had tried to take everything from me. The next few weeks passed in a blur of legal meetings and sleepless nights. I pored over the prenuptial agreement, searching for any loophole or clause that could help me keep Nora's house. But Garrett had been thorough, and with each passing day, my hope dwindled. Then one morning I received a text from Brandon. "Have you seen the news?" it read, followed by a link to a local gossip website. My heart sank as I clicked on the link, already knowing what I would find. There, splashed across the screen, was a photo of Garrett and Tiffany, grinning from ear to ear as they held up their newly signed marriage certificate. "Local businessman weds secretary in surprise ceremony," the headline blared. I felt bile rise in my throat as I scanned the article, my eyes catching on phrases like whirlwind romance and fairy tale ending. I was still reeling from the news when I heard a loud banging on the front door. I stumbled to answer it, my legs shaking beneath me. There, on the doorstep, stood Garrett and Tiffany, a moving truck idling behind them on the street. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demanded, my voice hoarse with anger and disbelief. Garrett smirked, his arm wrapped possessively around Tiffany's waist. "We're here to claim what's rightfully ours, Evelyn. I told you I'm entitled to half of everything. And that includes this house." I shook my head, my hands balling into fists at my sides. "Like hell you are. I don't care what that prenup says, Garrett. I'm not letting you take Nora's house." Tiffany let out a high-pitched laugh, her eyes glinting with malice. "Oh, sweetie, you don't have a choice. Garrett found a loophole in the property deed. This house is just as much his as it is yours." I felt my stomach drop, my mind reeling with the implications of her words. "What are you talking about?" Garrett reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, waving it in front of my face. "It's all right here, Evelyn. Nora may have left the house to you, but she never had it properly transferred into your name, which means, legally speaking, it's still part of our joint assets." I snatched the paper from his hand, my eyes scanning the tiny print. He was right. There, in black and white, was the proof that Nora had never completed the necessary paperwork to make me the sole owner of the house. "You bastard," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "You knew about this all along, didn't you? You married Tiffany just so you could use this loophole against me." Garrett shrugged, a smug grin spreading across his face. "What can I say, Evelyn? I'm a businessman. I know how to exploit an opportunity when I see one." I lunged at him, my hands clawing at his face. But he easily caught my wrists, his grip tight enough to bruise. Now, Evelyn. Let's not make this any harder than it needs to be. You have until the end of the month to get your things and get out. Tiffany and I have big plans for this place." With that, he shoved me backwards, sending me stumbling into the wall. I watched in helpless fury as he and Tiffany strode past me, their laughter echoing through the empty halls of Nora's house. I sank to the floor, my body shaking with sobs. How could this be happening? How could Garrett be so cruel, so calculating? But even as despair threatened to overwhelm me, I felt a flicker of determination spark to life in my chest. Garrett thought he had won, but he had no idea what I was capable of. I would find a way to stop him, to keep Nora's house and uncover the truth about her secret fortune. I pulled out my phone and dialed Brandon's number, my voice steady with resolve. "Brandon, it's me. I need your help. Meet me at the bank in an hour. We have work to do." I stood outside the bank, my heart pounding in my chest as I waited for Brandon to arrive. I clutched the key to Nora's safe deposit box in my sweaty palm, my mind racing with the possibilities of what we might find inside. When Brandon finally pulled up in his beat-up old car, I practically yanked him out of the driver's seat in my haste to get inside. "Whoa, slow down, Evelyn," he said, stumbling to keep up with me as I marched towards the bank entrance. "What's the big rush?" I didn't answer him, too focused on my mission to waste time with explanations. We made our way to the safe deposit box room, where a bored-looking bank employee led us to Nora's box. With trembling hands, I inserted the key and turned it, my breath catching in my throat as the box swung open. Inside, nestled among a stack of old photographs and a tarnished locket, was a thick envelope. I grabbed it and tore it open, my eyes widening as I saw the contents. Bearer bonds, just like the lawyer's letter had said, and underneath them a handwritten note from Nora herself. "My dearest Evelyn," it read. "If you're reading this, then I am gone, and you have found the key to my secret. These bonds are my gift to you, a way to ensure that you will always be taken care of, no matter what. I hid them away years ago, when I was still married to your grandfather. He was a cruel man, and I feared what he might do if he ever found out about them. Use them wisely, my darling, and know that I will always be with you, watching over you from above." Tears streamed down my face as I read Nora's words, my heart aching with the realization of just how much she had loved me. Brandon wrapped an arm around my shoulders, his own eyes glistening with emotion. "She really loved you, Evelyn," he said softly, "and she wanted to make sure you were protected, even after she was gone." I nodded, wiping away my tears with the back of my hand. "I know, and now, thanks to her, I have the means to fight back against Garrett and Tiffany. They think they can just take everything from me, but they're wrong." Brandon's face hardened with determination. "Damn right they are. We'll make them pay for what they've done, Evelyn, together." We left the bank with the bonds safely tucked away in my purse, my mind already racing with plans for how to use them. But first, I needed to see what Garrett and Tiffany were up to. I drove by Nora's house, my stomach twisting with anger as I saw the construction crews already at work, tearing down the beautiful old porch and ripping out the antique stained glass windows. I parked across the street and watched as Garrett emerged from the house, his arm wrapped around Tiffany's waist. They were both grinning from ear to ear, clearly thrilled with the progress of their renovations. I felt a white-hot rage boil up inside me as I watched them, my hands clenching into fists at my sides. They had no right to be here, no right to destroy the home that Nora had loved so much. But I forced myself to take a deep breath, to push down the anger and focus on the task at hand. I had the bonds now, and with them, the power to take back what was rightfully mine. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number of the lawyer who had sent Nora the letter all those years ago. It was time to set my plan into motion, to use the resources that Nora had left me to bring Garrett and Tiffany to their knees. They thought they had won, but they had no idea what was coming for them. I was Nora's granddaughter, and I had inherited more than just her house and her money. I had inherited her strength, her resilience, and her unbreakable spirit. And with that power, I would make them pay for everything they had done. The next morning, I walked into Nora's house with my head held high, the bearer bonds safely tucked away in my purse. Garrett and Tiffany were standing in the living room, arguing loudly over paint colors and furniture arrangements. They both turned to stare at me as I entered, their eyes widening in surprise and then narrowing in suspicion. "What the hell are you doing here, Evelyn?" Garrett demanded, his voice dripping with disdain. "I thought I made it clear that you were to be out by the end of the month." I smiled coldly, my gaze locking with his. "Oh, I'll be leaving, Garrett, but not before I take back what's rightfully mine." Tiffany scoffed, her perfectly manicured hands planted on her hips. "And what exactly do you think is rightfully yours, you pathetic little mouse?" I reached into my purse and pulled out the bearer bonds, holding them up for both of them to see. These. The bonds that Nora left me, the ones that you had no idea existed. Garrett's face paled, his eyes bulging with shock and rage. Where did you get those? Those should have been mine. I laughed, a harsh, brittle sound that echoed through the empty house. Yours? I don't think so, Garrett. Nora left these to me, to protect me from people like you, people who would try to take advantage of me, to use me for their own gain. Tiffany stepped forward, her face twisted with fury. You little bitch, you think you can just waltz in here and take what's ours? We've already started renovating this place, making it into our dream home. I shook my head, my smile turning vicious. Oh, Tiffany, you really are as dumb as you look. This house was never yours, and it never will be. I've already cashed in the bonds and paid off all of Garrett's debts. The house is mine, free and clear. Garrett's face turned an alarming shade of purple, his fists clenching at his sides. You can't do this, Evelyn. I won't let you get away with it. I stepped closer to him, my voice low and dangerous. You don't have a choice, Garrett. I have all the proof I need of your lies and your betrayal. If you try to fight me on this, I'll take you to court and expose everything. Your affair, your hidden assets, all of it. Tiffany's eyes widened with fear, her hand clutching at Garrett's arm. Garrett, maybe we should just let it go. We can find another house, start over somewhere else. But Garrett shook her off, his face contorted with rage. No, I won't let her win. I'll sue you for theft, Evelyn. I'll tell everyone that you're crazy, that you're unstable. No one will believe a word you say. I laughed again, the sound harsh and bitter. Go ahead and try, Garrett, but I have proof of everything. Proof that you've been embezzling money from your own company, proof that you've been cheating on your taxes for years. If you take me to court, I'll make sure that everyone knows exactly what kind of man you really are. Garrett's face drained of color, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Tiffany tugged on his arm again, her voice high and panicked. Garrett, please, let's just go. It's not worth it. For a long moment, Garrett just stood there, his eyes locked with mine. I could see the wheels turning in his head, the realization that he had no way out, no way to win. Finally, he let out a long, shuddering breath, his shoulders slumping in defeat. Fine, you win, Evelyn. The house is yours. I smiled, a real smile this time, one that lit up my whole face. I know. Now get out of my house, both of you, and don't ever come back. They left without another word, Tiffany shooting me a venomous glare over her shoulder as they walked out the door. I watched them go, my heart swelling with triumph and relief. I had done it. I had beaten Garrett at his own game, had taken back what was rightfully mine. And I had done it all on my own, with nothing but my own strength and determination. Nora would have been proud of me. I could feel her presence all around me, could almost hear her voice whispering in my ear. Well done, my darling. Well done. I thought I had won, that Garrett and Tiffany were finally out of my life for good. But I should have known better than to underestimate Garrett's thirst for revenge. Just a few days after our confrontation, I received a call from my lawyer. Evelyn, I'm afraid I have some bad news, he said, his voice grave. Garrett has filed a lawsuit against you. He's claiming that you stole the bearer bonds and that you're mentally unstable due to your grief over your grandmother's death. I felt my stomach drop, my hands shaking as I gripped the phone. That's ridiculous. I have proof that Nora left those bonds to me. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. My lawyer sighed heavily. I know that, Evelyn, but Garrett has a lot of money and a lot of influence. He's hired a team of high-powered lawyers, and they're going to do everything they can to make you look like the villain in all of this. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath to calm my racing heart. So what do we do? How do we fight this? We keep gathering evidence, my lawyer said firmly. We keep building our case, brick by brick, and we don't let Garrett intimidate us into backing down. I nodded, my jaw clenched with determination. Okay, let's do this. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the legal battle, working closely with my lawyer to gather every scrap of evidence we could find. We tracked down witnesses who could testify to Garrett's shady business practices, uncovered financial records that proved he had been hiding assets from me for years. But Garrett fought back just as hard, using his money and his connections to try to discredit me at every turn. He even went so far as to hire a private investigator to dig up dirt on me, to try to paint me as a gold digger who had only married him for his money. I refused to let him get to me, refused to let him see how much his lies and his betrayal had hurt me. I held my head high and kept fighting, even when the odds seemed stacked against me. And then, finally, we caught a break. My lawyer's team uncovered evidence that Garrett had been bribing officials to look the other way when it came to his illegal business practices. We had him dead to rights, and he knew it. I confronted him in his office, my lawyer by my side. Garrett sat behind his desk, his face pale and his eyes wide with fear. "It's over, Garrett," I said, my voice cold and hard. "We have proof of everything, the bribes, the embezzlement, all of it. If you don't drop this lawsuit and sign the house back over to me, we'll take all of this evidence to the authorities. You'll lose everything." Garrett's mouth worked soundlessly, his hands clenching and unclenching on the desk in front of him. "You can't do this, Evelyn. You'll ruin me." I leaned forward, my eyes locked with his. "You ruined yourself, Garrett. You lied to me. You cheated on me. You tried to take everything that mattered to me. And now you're going to pay the price." Tiffany spoke up from where she was sitting in the corner, her voice high and panicked. "Garrett, just do what she says. It's not worth it. We can start over somewhere else, just the two of us." But Garrett shook his head, his face contorted with rage. "No. I won't let her win. I won't let her take everything from me." I smiled coldly, standing up and turning to my lawyer. "Then I guess we'll see you in court, Garrett? I hope you're ready to lose everything you've ever worked for." We walked out of his office, leaving him sitting there in stunned silence. I felt a rush of triumph, a sense of finally taking back control of my life. Garrett had underestimated me, had thought he could bully me into submission, but I was stronger than he ever gave me credit for. And now I was going to make him pay for everything he had done. In the end, Garrett didn't have the guts to face me in court. Just a few days after our confrontation in his office, I received a call from my lawyer. "Evelyn, I have some good news," he said, his voice filled with satisfaction. "Garrett has agreed to drop the lawsuit and sign the house back over to you. He doesn't want to risk the evidence we have against him coming out in court." I felt a rush of relief, followed quickly by a sense of triumph. I had won. I had beaten Garrett at his own game, had taken back what was rightfully mine. But even as I celebrated my victory, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness, too. Sadness for the love that I had lost, for the betrayal that I had suffered at the hands of the man I had once trusted with my whole heart. I thought back to all the lessons that Nora had taught me over the years, the lessons about strength and resilience and never giving up. She had always been my rock, my guiding light in the darkness. And now, even though she was gone, I could still feel her presence with me, could still hear her voice whispering in my ear. "You did it, my darling," she seemed to say. "You stood up for yourself, you fought for what was right, and you won. I'm so proud of you." I smiled through my tears, my heart filled with a bittersweet mix of love and loss. "Thank you, Nora," I whispered, "for everything." Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the task of renovating Nora's house, of undoing all the changes that Garrett and Tiffany had made. I tore down the gaudy wallpaper and ripped up the cheap carpeting, replacing them with the same warm, inviting colors and textures that Nora had always loved. I filled the house with memories of her, with photos and mementos and all the little things that had made her so special to me. And slowly but surely, I began to feel like myself again, began to feel like I was finally home. Brandon was there with me every step of the way, helping me with the renovations and offering me his unwavering support and friendship. "I'm so proud of you, Evelyn," he said one day, as we sat together on the newly refinished front porch. "You've been through so much, but you never gave up. You never let Garrett break you." I smiled at him, my heart filled with gratitude and affection. "I couldn't have done it without you, Brandon. You've been my rock through all of this. I don't know what I would have done without you." He reached out and took my hand, his fingers lacing with mine. "I'll always be here for you, Evelyn, no matter what." As the weeks turned into months, I began to hear rumors about Garrett and Tiffany. Rumors that their marriage was on the rocks, that Tiffany had only been after Garrett's money, and had left him as soon as she realized he was broke. Rumors that Garrett had lost his job, that he was facing legal trouble for his shady business practices. I didn't take any pleasure in their misfortunes, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of karmic justice. Garrett had tried to destroy me, had tried to take everything that mattered to me, but in the end he had only destroyed himself. And as for me, I was thriving. My graphic design business was taking off, and I was finally able to pursue my dreams without Garrett holding me back. I had Nora's house, and I had my memories of her to keep me strong. But most of all, I had myself. I had the strength and the resilience that Nora had always seen in me, the courage to stand up for myself and fight for what was right. I knew that she was watching over me from wherever she was now, knew that she was smiling down on me with pride and love, and I knew that no matter what challenges life threw my way, I would always have the strength to face them head on, just like Nora had taught me.